Three, two, one. Welcome back to Sitrep. I am Jess. I'm joined today by Shifty,
I'm Shifty.
Exotics,
That's me.
and we are joined today by Happy
Hello.
and V.
What's up?
All right, and before we get into what the episode's actually about, we have some news that Shifty, I know you want to talk about specifically. Mirage did one last act of scumbaggery before they got kicked out of the NAL.
Yeah, I didn't get to talk about it last time because I wasn't here, but
This also wasn't announced the last time.
If I remember
I have
right,
news. Do have news about this, by the way.
Oh, boy.
if I remember,
I have
but
more
if I
information.
remember right, for anyone who doesn't know, the team that was playing for them put out a statement saying that they were told that they were going to be under a new organization that ended up just being another organization owned by Mirage's CEO, and that apparently he was just trying to snake his way back into the NAL. That's from what I understood from that message.
That's what the broad generalization is. Yeah, and it's like, dude, committing fraud against players is one thing. Committing fraud against a multi-billion-dollar company that runs the circuit is another.
Yes,
Yeah,
Light Rose.
Okay, so I recently had brunch with Ferme, Jacob, and Jesse, where talked a bunch of shit. It was super fun. There's a little bit of clarification on the Mirage situation with SBL. Basically, how it works is that Mirage needed to sign a team under Mirage. That's the agreement, is that they need to sign a team. The SBL Mirage situation did not work under the guidelines of how it works. So basically, instead of signing them under Mirage, he tried to sign them under what would be the successor to Mirage. Now, granted, there's nothing there. I mean, it is still Carl. You're still technically playing under him, and they walked from there. But it does allow for a little bit of clarification that Mirage had to sign the team. It couldn't have been under SBL, basically.
Okay, so it wasn't just fraud.
It wasn't just fraud.
There still was fraud, but this wasn't. For once, they didn't commit fraud.
Yes.
I feel like just fraud is.
I still think it's funny that I was
fraud,
talking shit about it on Twitter. We all know like the Pan Mizzou thing where he's holding his thumbs up like this and the famous caption I'm not going to say here because God forbid Google hears me say that. But I cropped out the bottom part of it and I said, refrain from engaging in fraudulent business practices, and I tagged him in it and he untagged himself, and I thought that was fucking hilarious.
It's crazy to me. I understand that like the whole point wasn't like it wasn't about the money, but it's like you run an org. Your job is to support the players. That's what you're there for, and that's the only thing you weren't doing. It was just, I don't know. The whole thing made me angry.
Also, if that skin money is not going to the players, where the fuck is that shit going?
Yeah, that's another thing. Where's like you're getting money from Ubisoft and from
Because
people buying
like
your skins.
I don't know about like the Lion bundle and the Buck bundle, but I know damn well that AR-33 sold a ton because it just banged, and that was before we knew.
Oh, and then the whole, AI generated PR statement that basically said, yeah, we still haven't finalized a payment plan for the other roster or anything. We still haven't paid them. Like, yeah, we did that. It's our bad. Like that's basically what it said. Just admitting to not paying them.
What
It
else
wasn't
can you
a very
say?
good statement.
Like,
There's nothing much can you say.
Really
There's
get
nothing
out
much
of
you
it.
can
Yeah.
say.
I would have appreciated it more if he just used the account to tweet out "We're broke, lol, sorry," instead of just AI genning a whole bunch of this corporate nonsense.
Yeah, it was pretty
I
stupid.
saw someone say, guys, what if the whole Mirage doesn't pay their players thing was just a really, really big inside joke the whole time? And that was my favorite tweet that I saw about the situation.
Thank you for participating in the Mirage social experiment.
Guys, what if they're doing a funny?
I mean, that is the inside joke. But...
April Fools, we paid our players. That would have went hard yesterday.
That is pretty good.
That would have been a hilarious tweet.
Just a 4-year-old April Fool's joke.
Just Yardy just fucking tweets out, "I got paid." Next day, April Fool's.
He would have actually done that. He would have actually done that.
Yeah. All right, but then moving on from what is now a dead org. Rest in piss. You will not be missed.
Amen.
You guys want to take the stage here and just kind of talk about what you guys do?
Happy and I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Happy, you can go first.
Oh, okay. Where should we start? Like, do we want to like start with like how we got into it? Do we want to start with what we do
I
now?
feel like we need to narrow it down a bit. What do you want us to talk about specifically?
Yeah.
You could like start with how you got into it, and then like the differences between
Okay.
like the different tiers and like unwritten rules, stuff like that. Just like the little stuff that people wouldn't usually know.
All right. V, do you want to start with how you got into it first, since you got into it before me? I feel
Yeah,
like
sure.
chronologically that would be nice.
So originally, I played competitive Overwatch, and there was a league that I was in. It was called like Overwatch Tranquility. It's still going on, but basically, their Twitch team was kind of like, we don't really care who casts for us because it's more for the people putting it on that rather than a good production value. So I did that, and it just kind of spiraled from there, and eventually I branched over to Rainbow Six through like a broadcast GG post, which is a really good thing for newer casters. And I started in SCL, if anybody remembers that. I know Happy wasn't here for it, but
No.
little older, and then it's just kind of spiraled from there. So I've been doing this for about 4 years, maybe, or around there. So
Mhm. Yeah. So I have a more like, my story is like very, it's a little more like kind of out of nowhere, I guess is the best way to describe it. Like, I still have people who don't know who I am, which is very unusual for being in tier 2. But basically I got into it like long time ago. Got Rainbow Six for my Xbox. First FPS game my parents ever let me get. And I didn't know what I was doing. So I started watching Comp Siege because I wanted to learn how. And that just got me into esports, and then I started listening to the casters and realizing like that was something that I thought was so, like 4 years later, I have been like muting broadcasts, watching them, learning how to cast, trying to practice doing like literally everything that I can on whatever games that I can. It's just a passion that I have, but I have no idea how to get in. Um, and I was like a semi-competitive, like good Rocket League player, but not at all close to actually being pro. I just played competitively because it was COVID and it was something to do. But I got invited to cast a tournament by someone who like was a friend of mine that ran some organization. Did that. Also, like V through Broadcast GG got into games like Valorant, Counter Strike, and then eventually got into Siege. Siege had always had a special place in my heart because obviously it got me into sports. Um, so that was very important for me once I got to start casting Siege, and then like I actually showed up and like people seemed to really like it, and
actually
from the
showed up.
from the jump, what?
You actually showed
Yeah.
up, unlike
No,
everybody
yeah,
else.
I don't know.
Never mind, don't worry about it.
All right. No, so I showed up to cast more, and then people started to like it, and I felt like, unlike like I felt in other games that I had done, I felt like there was a chance for me to actually go somewhere. I mean, I started doing TPL because I was invited to do it by someone who heard me on Collegiate, and then for May, who's now our boss, was like in the Twitch chat, like, hey, this Happy guy's pretty good. Keep up the work. He did actually say that. And then I didn't know who he was at the time. I had no clue who Ferme was. And everyone was like, "Yo, this is your ticket to get into like Challenger League, and if you ever want to move up, this is who you need to impress." And so he doesn't say that a lot, so that's a really good thing that he said that about you. And I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, sure, cool." And then so I started to cast a ton. There was like Xenon season 5 where I want to say I casted like there were weeks where we'd have like 4 or 5 play days, and I would cast like every single one of them or every one but one
I know
because so
that.
many people called out. And then my silly goofy friend Light Rose told that battery to put me on the grand final with her, which was like my first big opportunity. And then I got to do some game rogues. I kept doing a bunch of EU D tiers, and I was still pretty much a nobody. But like people in the scene knew me and knew that I was like dedicated grinding. And so like starts to get towards like September, October, and then I get word that it's like, hey, you're being considered for Element, and it's like that didn't feel like I was supposed to be there this quickly, but I'll take it. Like, I'm pretty obviously pretty happy with that. And then one thing turned to another, and I ended up making it. So that's how I got to where I am now, and how I got into casting in general. Just generally, showed up, kept casting, didn't stop, and that's the moral of the story.
I will say you wanted to know like for us to explain the tiers. Basically, you've got we'll start up down. So T1, you've got your kind of dev sanctioned, or I guess game company sanctioned
Yeah.
league, which is going to be your COD league, your NAL, a lot of them that do have connections straight to the developers, and a lot of times are funded by the developers. Tier 2, most of the time, is still going to be connected to the developer, but the prize pools are smaller. The competition usually isn't as fierce. It isn't always connected to the developer, and there isn't always a straight connection to that Tier 1. I mean, in some games like Apex, it's just kind of its own thing, but considered Tier 2. And technically with Rainbow Six, I believe it is still sponsored by Ubisoft, but it does not have any connection to Pro League itself. Tier 3, you're going to have a lot more production value, I guess, compared to everything else. May have some intermingling between T2 with the teams that play, and then just Tier 5 and Tier 4 beyond is just whatever. Like, it's, random leagues that you show up in that anybody can really do and just play.
Yeah,
I just
think,
wanted to.
Yeah, as of now, just like T3 is really just Xenon, TPL.
T3 sucks right now.
When I started with TPL, it wasn't T3. Nothing is really T3 right now, in terms of like,
Sucks.
because it also encompasses like production value and teams. You look at Outlast, good teams in that, but like the production value isn't fully there to the extent that it is for like TPL or Xenon, and like not as good of casters, not as experienced of prod. But still some pretty good people on that. I'll love to know.
Maybe the real T3 is the friends we made along the way.
It is. That's my favorite thing about T3 is just making friends. Like I don't.
Really is what
That's
it's
my
about.
number one thing.
Another thing I
Some
just
of my
remembered.
better friends that I have right now are all friends that I met while playing in T3. It's a good group of people. It's relatively small if you look at it. Like, it's normally the same 10, 15 teams competing in the same leagues.
Yeah, that's why I said there's intermingling between T2 and T3.
And then another thing I just remembered is that usually for the difference between T2, T1, if they're both dev sponsored, T1 is international, like is somehow connected to an international circuit, and then T2 is just regional only.
Right. Yeah. There's different T2s. Like I think EU's kind of got like Southreach and those different tournaments that they've run. We've got Element over in NA, and then I believe in like Brazil, there's I actually don't really know the tournaments that
there's
are
Russia in Brazil. There's Rect in OS. There was I think it's ECS in Southeast Asia.
I don't know. You would know more than me. You like
I think
pay attention.
I'm pretty sure ECS is League of Legends.
Shows up.
There was a Siege one over the offseason for Southeast Asia.
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. There's too many damn acronyms in this fucking.
There's always a C and there's always a C or an S in there somewhere. Yeah, Elite Community Series was what took place over the summer in Southeast Asia. That was won by the old Elevate with like Onigiri. Anyways, Shifty, you were gonna say something, weren't you?
I wanted to ask that first grand final you had Happy where you you
with
cast.
V,
How
so
did,
that's a good question.
Yeah, with V, like how did that feel for you? And I assume V, was it your first grand final casting as well, or?
No.
I can't remember the first grand final I did. Was it
Yeah.
SFCL season 5?
You did SFCL season 6, I think. I know that. Or no.
No,
Yeah,
see,
I
I
think it's season
ran
6, right?
SFCL season 5. I did what you did for Xenon. Was like
There's
I
always that one who runs the season.
I-
and that's how they get on the map.
casted SFCL season 5 like so much, and I'm pretty sure I did the grand final. I think that one was the first one I did.
But yeah.
I think it was mid too.
That was what it was my first time doing color, which is a little bit foreshadowing. Because now I cast with Jays Wills, Jonah, who is my goat, and only really does PvP. So now I had to learn like really hard color, like kind of out of nowhere, and I wasn't really a color caster before, so I really committed myself to like diving deep into that and learning a lot more about the game I had never ever known before. But it was a little bit foreshadowing when I casted with V because I did almost exclusively color all series
And then
long.
I swapped to color.
And then you swapped to color like a month later after we had.
Yeah.
There was a little bit in there where we were duoing. We would cast a lot together, and I did color, you did PvP, And then you got some feedback, you switched to color, I did PvP, and then you started casting with TTL, like for Breaking Point and all that. And then you
Yeah.
ended up casting with Jazz. And so
Yeah.
the whole time I'm just like a freeloader. I'm just casting whatever I can, just getting put on PvP roles and stuff like that. And then I'm just told I'm gonna do color with a tier 1 caster, and I'm just like, oh, okay, sure, I'll do that. That's fun.
And then for the people who aren't like super familiar with the terms, could you
Oh, yeah,
clarify
yeah,
what
my
color
fault.
in PvP
My
is?
fault.
Yeah, no,
So
you're good. You're good.
Yeah, play-by-play is like, think you're Intero, you're Xenox. He's not as iconic, but still, guy who did Australian guys on the grand final. Fluke, someone, yeah, people like that who like try to follow the action as it's happening and like scream, shout as big things go on.
They get all the glory.
Exactly. That's they're the ones who you think about your favorite esports calls and moments. The play-by-play caster is doing that, unless it's a hybrid, like, which is what you call it when both casters do both. Like Ace and Dez would be a great example of a hybrid casting duo where they both kind of do both. And instead of like having someone who goes super in depth in color, instead they fill the dark spaces with, like, some stories, some little banter, stuff like that. They add more personality, and that's a very like EU kind of style of casting to do. They do a lot of that over there. But yeah, other than like Fluke and Hap. But yeah, color on the other hand is when you're doing a lot more analysis, when you have to like look deeper into the game. And after the round ends, you talk about either something that happened that you think is significant, maybe some stats that you want to bring up, maybe just something important about the teams, like a trend that they keep following or something that they're doing along the way, or just anything else that you think adds that little bit of color to the broadcast and gives it just that much more substance and background for the players at home who may be, lacking some of that knowledge. And there are so many ways you can go about that. V and I do it in very different ways, as we're both color casters, but I do a lot more like, I try to do a lot more like really heavy analysis type stuff and like look super deep, and like as deep as at least I can look on the fly. Whereas she's a lot more just like trying to like make it a big cohesive narrative and like try and introduce the little make it fun. She's a lot more personality than me on the broadcast because I don't have the confidence to do that yet because I'm still pretty new. But
yeah. I mean, hey, personality is one of the most fun parts of a broadcast, especially when like Adam and I are just able to kind of go back and forth with each other and be goofy. That's what makes casting fun. It's when you're able to feel comfortable and just do really what you want while still making it a fun experience for both you and the viewer.
That's a really weird. Sorry, you go first, Shifty.
Yeah, and from like the viewer's perspective, it's like, especially in Siege, you have those moments of downtime before the prep phase and everything. And if the casters can banter with each other, it keeps it entertaining. Like it keeps people tuned in. I'm not gonna stand up and go out and go grab snacks while they're picking operators because I know they're probably gonna talk shit.
Shoot each other eventually.
I feel like
stay tuned.
I feel like that aspect kind of like got a little bit lessened with the removal of 6-pick. But like it's still important because 6-pick was like crazy downtime.
Oh my god, added what? Like another 15, 20 seconds?
Yep.
Matches like overtime matches felt so long.
They still do. They still do sometimes.
They still do, but they were so much longer back then because you like were forced to go through that 6-pick.
And then I was gonna say, it's something we've been noticing that people are like upset now that like hosts have like personality or like players have personality. It's like, dude, what do you want? Like there's so many people like in chat. If you go watch any SSG game where like it's on LAN, and take a shot every time someone gets mad at Asher for screaming.
Oh my god, that annoys me so much. Yeah, but like you shouldn't be mad at Ashen for talking.
It's like
has anybody watched wrestling? You need personalities. Like it's transferred on over to esports. Super used to be the villain. He was the villain.
Yes.
He wore that on his sleeve.
Now it's kind of like LMAO, I would argue.
I've been
also,
preaching this for years.
Side note, I'm just gonna say this. We all loved it when Canadian did it. Why is it different when Ashen does it? Just saying.
Young Gunner. It's because he's new.
We all loved it when Iconic did it, man. That's why he's one of my favorite players. Like Iconic would scream after every single round.
Iconic is
wrong with that.
Iconic's mostly loved because of the fucking one ranked clip. We all know the one I'm talking about. Don't act like you don't.
Yeah, but is that the difference? Is that what makes it okay for him to scream across the stage when it was on LAN and Ashen can't scream after every
Like I
round.
said, it's because he's new. It's like
Yeah.
random guy comes on in, starts yelling, starts doing really good. It's kind of gonna attract a couple of haters who are like, you can't yell. You haven't been here long enough.
He's hot shit, and he knows he's hot shit, and people are angry about it, basically.
Yeah, that's it. He deserves it. Happy and I don't know, like, I've casted Ashen for a long time in relative terms.
Maybe I got him once. Was he on?
Yeah,
that
when he was on
was he on Aerial Academy?
the AAA Academy, and I think
Okay.
like
Is he on
he
that
was.
team for
I don't know if I casted him before he was on that team, but like I got to do the last. I remember I got to do the last interview with him before he turned 18, and the rumor was that he was going to SSG. So that I'm very proud of. Like I'm glad I got to do something like that.
Yeah, and then last kind of like little thing before transition here. What's like some like the unwritten rules of casting? Like obviously we know like no swearing. 'Cause we've heard about like people getting fined for that. But like are there any other like unwritten rules kind of?
Respect your partner.
Yeah.
You never. So like with color and play-by-play, there's kind of, you know, play-by-play yaps when stuff is happening and color yaps when stuff is not happening. And you always want to make sure that, especially if you're hard play-by-play and a hard color, that you kind of respect that. You want to give your partner the ability to do their things. You don't want the color to kind of bleed into the play-by-play because they're not going to do it as well, and it's going to take away from the other person's ability to do that job well. Casting is also just about the ability to respect each other and weave. It's why the longer a duo is together, the better they'll be, is because when one person stops, the other one can literally step right on in. It's almost like a mental connection.
Yeah, exactly. And it is like for people like me, myself and V, it's hard when you go from doing a lot of play-by-play where you're the center of attention to then having to platform the other person. It can be kind of hard to like, take that hit and be willing to take that step down. But I realized very quickly that it makes for a much better broadcast when I am 100% willing and ready to take that step back to let my co-caster.
Also makes it easier to know when to give it off.
Yes, 100%. And so when I'm 100% ready to let my play-by-play shine at any given moment, that makes for a better broadcast. It makes it more cohesive. Because it also helps me, because I don't do super well getting good play-by-play or color when I'm in like a hybrid kind of mindset. So I do better when I'm able to either focus on giving good color or focus on giving good play-by-play. And so when I can just focus on analyzing the game and don't have to worry about like how to make it a super cinematic experience in the moment, then that helps me as well. And so it really does make for a much better broadcast. And also, I will say, respecting your co-caster is very important for T3, T4. So if you are someone who's new, wants to get into casting, like, and you're listening to this, like, maybe you'll have really bad co-casters. Maybe you'll be the bad co-caster. We've all been there, right? Like, it's happened to everybody. Even the greatest casters of all time. At one point, Intero was new and had a co-caster who was more experienced and better than him. Like that's just an example of like someone who's like on such a high level. It happens for everybody. So you need to understand that all you can do is focus on yourself and focus on making the broadcast as good as possible. If you're trying to make yourself a play-by-play and like so when the other person's talking when action happens and you just start talking over them, that's going to sound bad. That's going to reflect poorly on you because you're clearly interrupting your co-caster a lot. If if someone's stepping on your toes, you just kind of have to let them. You let them do that. Try and make it as good of a broadcast as possible, and that's going to show, right? As someone who was able to go pretty far pretty quickly, that was all that I ever tried to focus on, was making it as good for the broadcast as possible and doing what I could to make that broadcast better. I didn't try to focus on making myself look like the greatest caster of all time. Having an ego is once you get to a level, like a certain level, it's good because you want to have like, you want to be able to negotiate and know your worth and stuff like that. But through T4, T3, do not have an ego. Do not consider yourself above anyone. I always cast with the mindset that I am the worst caster on the event that I'm on because that helps me focus more on doing better. And
don't have that.
That helps me. That's how my brain works. It helps me focus on like
and
doing
I'm
better.
Still of the mindset that you should not have that.
And I'm of the mindset that I'm doing pretty well. So I don't know. But okay, that's maybe not the greatest example, but that's the mindset that I have where I consider myself,
All right.
I cast like I have something to prove. That's a better way of putting it. Always,
And
every time I'm
it's
on a broadcast, I have something to prove to people, and I, obviously want to prove that.
I think another way of putting of more of don't be afraid to be around better casters, because
Oh yeah.
How
the
you
only
learn.
thing you can it's how you learn.
Oh yeah,
If
100%. Oh
it's
yeah.
not
Oh
like
yeah.
you are the worst caster, it's like
Yeah.
you're not afraid to be the worst caster in the room because you have the
Oh no,
most
I'm not.
to gain.
Absolutely.
That's
That's the other
more
way
of
of
what I
looking at
think
it as
you
well.
learn.
That's how I saw Element 2. I'm not saying I'm the worst one on Element 2. I'm saying I've been around for less than a year on broadcasts. V and Jazz have both been around for like more than 3. I've been there significantly less long than everybody else. I have easily the most to learn. I have easily the most to gain out of this whole experience. So even if I'm not back for E3, if E3 happens, even if I'm not there, like I still learned a ton. I still had a great experience. Like it's that's the mindset is just that like I have so much in me personally, and everyone who's new as well. So always look for advice if you're new. Um, but yeah, that's not so much of an unwritten rule. That's just kind of like
Advice.
bleeding into like advice. Yeah, if you want to get into casting,
Yeah.
just ask other people for tips and things you can do differently and all that. But yeah, I couldn't think of any unwritten rules. I think V's was probably the best example of just like respect your co-caster.
Don't be a dick, lol.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like
At the end
don't
of
be
the day.
mean. No one's gonna like someone who's mean. Production's pretty unique in that you can't be not nice and people will still work with you. No one's gonna work with you if you're not a nice person. Everyone I've met in production is a very nice person. So people don't really take kindly to people who are mean in production. They kind of get weeded out pretty early and like kind of put on an island. Now I haven't noticed it because everyone I've met in production has just been so nice, but still, it's worth mentioning. Just be nice to people, spread positive vibes.
And
I
something
have a
you go first,
sorry,
Vicky.
go for it though.
Mine's gonna be a little bit why you say yours first.
Okay, I have a kind of an off-topic question. I was just curious and just thought of it. I think if I remember, it was during the invite and during some of the league matches, some of the casters in T1 have tried try casting and having
Mm.
3
Mhm.
people cast. It's something
They
I
did it
enjoyed.
at
I was just
SI
wondering.
finals.
Yeah, they did the finals. I
They've
was
done
just
it at
wondering.
they've done it at like every finals
The
since.
SI finals cast was great. That was like the best cast I
I
think I've ever done.
think they experimented with it at the Sweden major, the 2021 Sweden major, and then they kind of went all in on it.
After SI23, I believe every single one has been a TriCast.
I think Blaz kind of realized, hey, this shit was cool. Let's do more of that.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
wondering if you guys thought that should be more kept like special for finals or something, or if that
Yeah.
Make
you
it
don't,
equal.
don't think that should be the same, because I really enjoy it. Like if it was 3 people
think
for most of it, I really enjoy it.
So the thing about it is, thinking of it from a financial perspective, that is more people that you're gonna have to pay for a day rate.
That's
so you need, if like financially, it is going to be just a special thing. From a technical perspective, a lot of times you only have those 2 people, let's say, for a group stage as well, because you don't need 3 people. The magnitude of the game doesn't require another person's analysis, another person to weigh in, because a lot of times the game isn't just it isn't worth that extra person. Now maybe when you get into like semifinals, then you can start to debate it, but it's also about centering the casters themselves. By throwing in another person that maybe isn't part of that duo, you do risk throwing in a little bit of chaos and just kind of disrupting what usually is a normal flow for those casters. So I agree. I think for like a grand finals, for casters that are like guaranteed to work together, like we saw with Gus, Xenox, and Pangu all together, I think that works. But everything else, you just keep it with the standard.
That makes sense.
I think that's fair. I would say that like majors, like I know they experimented with it during like some Swiss stages. I think at Copenhagen they did it a lot during like the Swiss stage. Atlanta I think actually was a big one as well, where they started doing it during Swiss and they would bring in people like Titan, and people like that. And I thought that was really cool because like sort of in a way where it's like during Swiss there's no big crowd, so you can kind of embrace the sort of casual conversational aspect
You
of it,
can. That is true.
and that's a lot easier to do with 3 people because 3 people is more of a group conversation, especially with one color and probably another color, given how Siege works. It'll be like a pretty good intellectual conversation and all that. and it allows kind of room for that third person to just kind of also be there and add in occasional bits of information that will help move the broadcast even further. And they'll get like really, really technical. But then you got the color who's like able to kind of bridge the gap between the play-by-play and the person who gets super, super technical, which may not always be possible in a typical duo. I think there's a lot of merit to it, absolutely. And I think your example of Guz, Xenox, and Pengu was great because I loved that cast. It's one of my favorite Siege casts that I've ever heard.
Very good cast.
And Pengu specifically bringing the player mindset, having been on a big invite stage like that before, pretty much being on the biggest invite stage that had ever happened before that invitational itself, was able to bring so much to that cast. Xenox was able to bring so much hype and excitement, and then Guz was able to like bridge the gap between the two by giving good analysis, giving good like information as to what's going on in the server, and also bringing a more energy than Pengu. Not to say that Pengu, isn't a good caster. He's just not a very like high energy caster, and I don't think he really tries to be.
He doesn't feed into like
nerd emoji.
Yes, much more analytical.
Nerd emoji.
That's crazy.
Guz kind of bridge. Yeah, that is wild. We're punching up to tier 1 cast.
No. It's not meant as a punch.
I know. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
No, that's
It's a playful jest.
But in reality, that is kind of what he is on the cast. Not an actual like, but he's that nerd that talks about the strategy, how it works, and all that.
Some colors are just like that.
I think that's why like Kix and Pengu kind of works. It's not the same, but it's close enough to where you still have that like competitive mindset behind the thing that you can hear like a criticism of a team and be like, that is fair, that is valid, he has a point. I feel like every time Intero criticizes a player, there's like 800 like fucking stupid little mini-me's in there. So just like, oh, you have no idea what you're talking about, you haven't played pro play, blah blah blah. It's like, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah, I think that does add a lot. And like the players and the analysts themselves do actually like put a lot of value behind if you as a caster had been a coach or been a player, because there's a lot that goes into it, like a lot of prep, a lot of behind the scenes work that really
It's also,
matters.
like, you
And
watch
so,
a lot of Siege.
Yes.
You can't
100%.
watch that amount of Siege and not know what you're talking about. Like,
Oh,
you
yeah,
watch
100%.
so much. Because it's
Yeah.
not just like you're not
It's
casting for one
it's
or
your
two
literally
games a
your
lot of the
job to
times.
know about it, man.
Yeah. Like, you've seen thousands and thousands of plays. You can talk about why a play did not work because you've probably seen it work somewhere else.
All right, but transitioning over to our next topic, it's like kind of like a per person question again. We've had this before. What's everyone's favorite caster call from Siege? Shifty, you want to lead us off here?
I gotta remember because I can't. Mine is. I only remember the title of it is Kickstar's Rap God. It was Liquid versus NIP on Coastline. I believe it was Pro League season. Yeah, Pro League season 9, Playday 7. That I don't know. That one I really like because it was just
second to last ESL Pro League season.
Yeah, because like it's how fast he's keeping up with the play-by-play. Like he's not stuttering or anything. But he's saying everything that's going on so quickly. And the fact that it kind of goes to the rhythm of Rap God is just a little cherry on top, in my opinion. It's more of the actual technical skill of him calling that and being able to call that I like from it.
All right, and then mine, I'm a little bit biased because it's like my first event I ever went to, was the SI 2020 winning call from Intero, the Hammerheads into orbit call. Because like that's like the iconic part of that grand final. It still kind of looked back on as kind of iffy because we had winner's map advantage back then, which thank God that shit's gone.
Yeah. Nip played better in that grand final than I'm afraid.
They did. They just kind of.
Yeah.
You're taking Canadian, one of the people who like knows the most about how to play like fundamental Siege, to Clubhouse and Bank, two of the most fundamental maps in the game. You're gonna have a rough time there no matter what. And like we saw that again at Charlotte, where Astralis again took Canadian to Bank and got swept. Sorry, Shifty.
It's okay. Still mad about it. We were so close to greatness.
Iconic still got the clip of the major though, so.
Batman.
All right, exotics.
So, all right. Mine, in terms of casting, one of my favorite calls ever in terms of what the cast was about, like the round it was about. Probably one of my least favorite rounds in CG Sports. SI24, DZ versus VP, Map 3, Round 12. When Always clutched up to bring it into OT on Sky. Made me so upset in the moment because, well, DZ was my team. I wanted them to win, and then they just lost it all, went into OT.
Mistake.
But the call, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
He didn't care that he was going to get fined. He did not care at all that he was going to get in trouble. He let his emotions shine, and I loved that.
I think that's like what makes like the swearing call special. It's because like that's how crazy the play was to them in that moment.
Yeah.
They literally could not think of a way to keep it safe for broadcast. Like, fuck it, I'm taking the fine.
Yeah. He didn't care that it was gonna get him in trouble. He was all up in his emotions, and he let us know.
He was in the moment.
That's actually pretty close to what mine is. And mine is less of the casting and more of the experience, because I went to SI23 in Montreal, in the Astralis Koi game. I believe was considered the second best game of the year, only to FaZe Rogue at the Berlin Major Final. And the game was defined by like clutches by Astralis, if anybody remembers that. Like they could not be stopped. And I don't know if it was DP Fire who did it, or
it was Shuttle.
Shuttle. It was Shuttle.
I remember very vividly. Everyone was like, "Oh, Shuttle never shows up on game day," and he
Yeah.
drops like 4 of the most like important clutches of the entire event, and it's just like, yeah, still.
Yeah, it was the last round. It was the last round on Bank, where Shuttle has the TCSG, and he is like a 1v3 that happened in like immediate succession. And just the way that everybody was like, "Oh my god, this is happening," and then Parker just goes like, "Holy shit!" Even on broadcast, like watching it back, it's hilarious. The timing, the way he says it,
great.
It's so good. And is it the best casting I've probably ever heard? No, because it's also not about the casting. It's more about the experience. And I guess I didn't really answer the question that correct, but it's the only one I could really think of.
Yeah, nah, it's fine. It's like, also I think at the same time, it's like, if you're at a LAN, you remember those calls more fondly than if you're not at a LAN. Because I remember, me and Shifty probably remember like a lot of the calls from Charlotte and Atlanta more than we remember the calls from like Copenhagen or something. Because we were both at those events.
Like HAPPI said as well, in those moments, it's not the best calling, but it's about the best broadcast, because it does make the best experience for the people at the arena and also for the broadcast.
Yeah.
And I think when I was thinking about best call, like a great technical call, but what matters to me a lot is like passion and showing that you want to be there, and also making for a great.
So it's the emotion that matters to you. It's like the emotion behind it.
The emotion behind it. Obviously, great technical skill is very important, especially in Siege as well. Like with Shifty's example of kicks, it's so important because there's so much to talk about in Siege that it's really hard to do that kind of fast-paced.
Oh no!
Oh no! You died for a bit there. You died for a bit there. Can you repeat that?
That kind of. Okay. We're good. We're back. It's so hard to do the fast-paced style that we hear a lot in Siege and in CS and Valorant, because there's so much to talk about in Siege. Am I good?
No, you're good.
Now you're good. Now you're good.
Yeah, you're good.
It was just that thing where like
you hear everything I said.
Yeah, we heard everything you said that time. How like it's like hard with the fast-paced style.
But yeah, anyways, it's really hard to do that kind of technical style. So I find that even more important. But I do think that in terms of the best moment I've ever heard, like enhanced by the casting, it's funny because you could barely even hear it. But I'm also going with a call from SI24, and I'm also going with a Xenox call because he was casting like the rent was due all event, and I am so glad he got that grand final. That was I was advocating for him to get the grand final like all event long, and then people heard the DZVP call, and I think that's when I noticed some of my friends being like, "Yeah, you know what? You're kind of right. They should probably get this. I hope they get it too." But his call of his own bloody brother in round 10, I believe it was, at the end, when
Is that the
when,
border clutch?
It was Labs. It was Labs.
Ah,
Nade
Yeah.
killed Handy, and that, like, you want to talk about like making a broadcast great, telling that story with the passion that he told it, with the audience roaring behind him. That moment will always stand out to me as like my, because I had been, as a Siege caster, you would think that I had a my Siege casting moment, like the marquee casting moment that I've heard through my life. But I didn't really have that up until, that moment when I heard it and I was like, that's the one. That's gonna stick with me for a while. And that whole grand final, it was an awesome grand final to watch, and I loved the casting, loved the environment, loved the event. That was, overall,
yeah.
it just will stick out forever. But I'm so glad they got that chance on it, because I really, I've been a big fan of it for a little bit.
Yeah. And then I think I also want to ask you guys, I forgot about till now. Last episode, we kind of discussed the SSG versus Luminosity game, where there's a kind of a debate on Twitter about players changing their names before playdays, because I think it was Fulton Iconic had their names changed. How do you guys feel about that topic?
Oh, this is personal as casters. This is personal for us.
Happy. I don't think you. Happy. I don't
V
think you've
V
been
looks
through
like they have something to
hell.
say.
You've been through hell.
Oh, SCS season 7.
Oh,
There
God.
was there 3 pro teams,
Mhm.
and I think all of them, every single player on every single pro league team, changed their name.
I don't think PB did.
Maybe not. I think there might have been like one pro league team that didn't change their name. But you had like all of Astralis change their name to like the Slaw, Caniac combo. And then I think like on who was Luminosity at the time when you had like Rice and an Asian. Like I forget what theirs was, but it was just basically I had to have a sticky note of what the nicknames were and who they actually represented. And I think that has been the most frustrating experience I've ever had. Loved SCS 7. It basically kickstarted my career. But oh my god, it has sent me on a personal vendetta against the ability to like change your nickname as a pro league player. I despise it with every single fiber of my being.
I think like the way we kind of talked about it was like it can be fun, but like they need to have some element of their actual name in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
how you can connect to it.
Like Doki internationally plays as
Gomez.
Doki-san. Like stuff like that.
I remember.
I'm a big fan of that. That's how I got Happy Aka. That's how I added the Aka to my name. I would, like, back when I was in my Rocket League era, I would play like, and obviously being on Steam, you could change your name all the time. So I'd always go like Happy, and then I'd put like something afterward, and then Happy Aka just stuck for me. So I really like adding extra stuff to your name, but obviously that's very different from Raving Rabbids Wildcard. And that game that V was on with Dan, or V was on with Time to Light, where was it Xenon? And you guys had to cast that. I think it was you. I'm fairly certain it was Dan, and I'm pretty sure it was you too, where they had the little graphic of all of the wild card aces players and what their actual names were.
Because
they had Canadian, JJ Blast, Raving Rabbids, and
it was so crazy that one of their names was JJ Blast. They had JJ come on for the interview, despite the fact that he technically did not play in the game. That was the most roll with the punches I've ever had to do. Well, it was so funny. Like I came out of it unscathed. The interview was great. But they were like, I think it was like after the game, they're like, yeah, JJ is coming on to do the interview. I was like, all right, I'm throwing out all my questions that I prepared. We are flying by the seat of our pants
we'll do it
here.
Live.
Literally, that's how I was. But that is a good it's a good experience too.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
And then Zay made the little graphic that he played
with
on
the
stream
clown
a couple times with the clown, and then he made a little animation afterwards of the thing hopping on screen. I don't know. I
agree.
That
the name changing would be fine if it was, it kept an aspect of their names and all that. But even from like the viewer's perspective, it's like they changed their names. You don't know they're changing their names. You're like, did they sub? Like what happened?
Who's
Yeah, because
Zidane?
I remember
Why did SSG
going
pick
into
this
the
guy?
I think
And then like the casters have to throughout the match constantly remind you like so and so is
Yeah.
actually
Yeah,
iconic
yeah.
or so and so.
Yeah.
Like remember,
You know,
You
that's
have to
not
do that.
a new person.
I
That's
remember-
the person that's been like.
I remember
it's
the
just-
only
Yeah.
way I was able to like kind of like know who Iconic was. At the beginning of the game, he put Calma in all chat. I was like, okay, there's Iconic.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's.
well,
So,
because
yeah.
it was really, I don't remember who I was in call with, but I opened up the stream late after the game had already started, and I saw a random ass name, and I was like, who the hell is that? And then I hear the casters say Iconic, and I'm like, did he change his name? Why did he change his name? I went on Twitter
Yeah.
with my screen share up on Discord so that my buddy and I could try and figure out if Iconic had just straight up rebranded or not. And so I look up Iconic, I'm like, his name on Twitter is still the same. What the fuck is going on?
You want to know? I just checked. We have friends who do like who are casting right now for Collegiate R6, and I just checked, and our friend Fellow from Element just sent a message trying to say who is who because players changed their names to Shaq, Luca, LeBron, and Magic.
Bro, come on.
And that's just like, okay, man. All right, if you're a collegiate player, I don't want you. You can't do that. You don't have
Wrong
anything
sport.
to stand on. I don't.
Wrong
We're getting
sport.
like 40 viewers, man. Like, don't make it worse. We only have 40 people watching the stream. Don't make it worse.
Real.
And
That's
then
crazy.
transitioning into like our like the rest of our like yap topics for the rest of this thing.
Oh, never mind. They have
Opi-
160 people watching right now. I will
Close
Damn,
enough.
right.
Close enough.
look at CR6 go. Anyways,
Yeah. Moving on to like the thing. Let's talk about the R6 share stuff that's all come out so far. Like starting with, I think the thing that's had a lot of people upset is the drone skin, because for those of you who don't know, for competitive, there you cannot wear a lot of cosmetics. There's a whitelist, and everything in the esports shop is whitelisted. They put this drone skin into the esports shop, which a lot of people assumed that hey, this is whitelisted.
And it's
There
not-
are no drones currently on the whitelist. You're just not allowed to run it. And it was a really weird thing. And it was like, if it wasn't clarified by players immediately, it probably would have cost it around Pro League or something like that. Which I think it's just like, the drone, like, it's a cool skin. It's like, why put that in the section if it's not whitelisted? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, did they forget that they told us everything in the R6 share program would be available
Whitelisted.
for use in competitive?
Like, I think like if that's the case and like they're doing that, they might change the rules around it. But at the same time, it's like very, very like funny to see every like T3 player I know freaking out about it.
Yeah.
by
That's
the
one
way,
of the things that
I just got like a little extra bit on top of the last thing we were talking about with the collegiate players. I don't know if I'm allowed to check Sitrep General. I don't know if I'm allowed to say these
Let's see.
names on the podcast.
Oh,
but that is what they
Yeah.
are. That
Yeah.
is what they are. Can I
We're
say
not.
that?
You know what?
We're
Yeah,
good.
let's-
It won't be the
No,
worst. It won't
okay.
be the worst thing in this.
Pretty
process.
crazy.
It won't be the worst thing that's been said here that we got to trim, but it's
All
like.
right, if y'all
I'd
don't
rather
want me
not.
to, okay, but yeah. So no, all right. I got you.
They
But
got-
yeah,
So
that is
one
just-
team. One team is just LeBron, Luca, Magic.
And they added
and then the
more,
other
and they
team is
added
that.
more onto. No. That's LeBron, Luka, Magic, Shaq.
Oh,
they added
okay.
that before their names.
That's
Um,
interesting.
If you're listening and you want to know, just go check the Collegiate R6.
15 likes on the tweet. We'll make a video. Once we get this
Georgia
video,
versus
15 likes, we'll post it.
15 likes.
Georgia versus Akron VOD. Georgia is playing with some silly, goofy names, and we don't want to say it on the stream. So I can only imagine what they are saying on. Oh, it's Fellow too. He's definitely made a joke about that so far.
Oh god.
He's definitely said something about it, and that's why I love John.
And then, yeah, back on topic.
Sorry. Anyways, back on
No,
topic.
sorry.
Talk about.
There's a lot
to
of-
not interrupt.
There's a lot of like people who have opinions about the champions bundles and how they kind of do it, where it's like, I wish every player got to pick an operator, and then like they
That would be
put
cool.
like a design on that operator. But at the same time, it's like
That takes
Our-
too much time.
it takes too much time, and also, are we in a situation where Siege is big enough to warrant doing that?
No.
And I still think
Don't
we're
know.
there yet. It's like
Not worth it.
don't get me
I don't
wrong.
know.
I do think that like this is a lot better because from what I heard, after SSG, like up until G2, nobody got anything for winning invite Because like SSG got a charm, and it's like people were like, "Why is Bosco playing with an SSG charm?" It's like, bro, that's his world champion charm. You uncultured fuck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it took League of Legends a while before they started doing their team skins.
It's like,
For all that. I don't think we're at that point.
I think it would be cool to see, like, it would be cool to see. Don't get me wrong, or if like they
Yeah.
could like just like, I don't know, like there's some way to do it. Like maybe let them all like pick out a weapon to put a skin on or something like that. Like I don't know.
A weapon would be cool. Like you get to put your name on the weapon in the frame.
That
you
or
can see it
like
in-game.
that
That
or
would
like
be
Like a
it's
signature.
a bundle of
And it's
charms with the
literally
player's
just the
signature.
same skin, but you have the players sign it. Yeah, like it's just the same exact gun skin on every single player on the team, but you just have a player's signature in the middle of it. I think
Yeah.
that would be awesome.
That'd be cool.
That'd be fire.
If you let them do the operators, you could have a situation with. I remember there was one League of Legends player who won Worlds and then got his whole team to make waifu skins, which was
Yeah,
funny.
That's funny.
I remember hearing about that. I forget who it was that big on League, but I remember seeing that on Twitter.
I can't remember.
And then we kind
it
of
was
along
Beryl.
here.
I think it was Beryl. Ariel. I think it was him.
We kind of along here. The actual team skins. There's been some debate on this. We're not gonna cover the Fnatic one because the AI situation is a mess with the all the moral implication and all that. I don't want to get into it right now. Oh my god. But then one of the takes that I've been hearing a lot is I hate the Hyper Beast skins, which I don't necessarily agree with. I do think it's an issue that a lot of teams now are putting out skins like purple on them because half the time you think it's a Dark Zero bundle.
Yeah.
But at the same time, those are some of the nicest skins we've gotten recently. Because the big thing for a lot of people is how the gloves look. And the Hyper-E stuff consistently looks the best from the standpoint of the gloves. I think the TSM skin, the FaZe skin this year, the G2 skin.
TSM Sledge skin has some of my favorite gloves in the game.
Yeah.
I'm indifferent to all of them. I just don't care.
I support the APAC teams and buy the operator skins for the ops that I play a lot.
Yeah. Talking about gloves though, you want to know probably some of my favorite gloves out of any of the esports skins?
So,
SSG Smoke.
Those
gloves are really fucking clean.
Speaking of SSG, some people are mad that they made their bundle Jinxie theme, but it's like, bro, they are trying to secure the bag. Let them secure the bag.
He's the #1 Twitch streamer.
Embrace it. He's bringing our game back to life. Embrace it.
Yeah, people used to complain that Siege was dead because we weren't beating out Valorant, and he's been beating out Valorant every day.
Yes.
Shroud was streaming Valorant, and he was beating it out.
I think the only time he didn't beat Valorant was during the finals of Masters Madrid. And that was an insane storyline. So it's there's that little apostrophe there.
I think in terms of if we're talking about complaining about the Hyper-Beast skins, I don't care. Make a cool skin, you make a cool skin. My problem is make a skin, shove an anime woman on it. I'm tired of it. I'm very tired of the whole we make a skin, we put anime on it, and
from what I've been told from
I understand that it probably sells well. I get that. But it's still it's kind of annoying to the point where it's okay.
Yeah.
If I want to support esports, I have to put I have to just put an anime gun on my skin front and center, which isn't really what everyone likes. I just want a skin with a cool design on it. I think the Hyper Beasts are pretty cool, but even still, I understand. I think it's the same idea with that. The anime, the Hyper Beasts. Too many people are going for the same exact styles, because they sell well, and it gets kind of frustrating to see that people aren't innovating. I'm a big fan of skins like Beast Coast MP5, just bright, nice colors and really cool designs, and I feel like they don't really make anything.
I do want to say this though. I have heard from some designers that there is actually now a rule where they're only allowing one anime skin per gun overall in the game.
That's
valid. That's good.
I still think that I still think that the only team that's doing it well is Elevate, where they created this whole character around it, and it's that's cool.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah,
that's cool. It's that's cool.
And
it's
I mean that's a big part of their merch in general. They have
they worked.
Yeah, I have the Elevate one. I like that one. I think it's good.
It's because they worked it into their brand. It doesn't feel like it just shoehorned on. I think they actually worked their brand into it.
Yeah.
I just find it crazy that so many teams are doing it. There now has to be a rule.
Yeah,
that every like
because it prints money. The Fury one, they gave her boobs, and it printed money. Like it literally
you
just
printed money. I'm not gonna lie.
everyone I
lie,
know.
printed
I'm
money.
sorry if I should have said
We
that,
did it,
but
chat.
everyone I know was like, I'm buying the Fury skin, and I was just like, man, but like, what do you want them to do? If it's allowed and people are gonna pay for it, then what do you want them to do? Not make
will-
the money? Like,
I will say the one thing I kind of wish that they did with the bundles was restrict what operators you could put them on. Because this is not, because like take Buck for example. Buck's now got Rogue, MIBR, like Team Secret, and now Fnatic. It's like that's 4 kits. Like he's got 4 full kits now. And I might have even missed one, just probably like the black and gold one, like all that stuff. It's like he's not got so many uniforms. It's like, why are we still making them for him?
Yeah.
I mean,
And argue
what do you want
Sophia
them
as
to do?
Whereas
well.
there's
Want
other
them to-
operators that
want
just
them to
don't
put it on,
have
like,
one yet.
views, like people who just like.
I just think that
don't
like I just
sell,
kind of
but-
wish that
Yeah.
like I just kind of wish we just saw more operators with it, because I like
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Because I mean,
But I think on a
especially like
team-
if you're a competitive player, the fact that there's some operators that you just straight up can't have skins on because there is no esports skin for it. Like, I agree. You don't need to have a flashy skin for every operator in the game, but at least have options. One of the things that I'm happiest about ever since leaving comp is the fact that I can actually use skins again.
yeah. And
But I don't play
another
Sunman.
Well, I guess there's that, but isn't there something to be said of like
Only
just
put it on
who's
yeah.
the operators that are used in
Yes,
comp?
exactly. That's what I
'cause
was
Buck
thinking.
Buck has been around for a long ass time.
yeah,
Um,
I'm just
so
it's just kind of like a little
'cause
nitpick
it's
of
like-
mine.
I guess maybe the theory would be like if you're gonna make an esports skin for him that the competitive players are gonna use, you want it on the operators that they're
gonna
gonna
get
pick
played.
and they're
Yeah.
gonna use. That's
Yeah.
I mean, what are you gonna do? Put it on Cav? Like you're gonna give Cav like 3 skins that you're never gonna see because no one's gonna be picking her? Like
But I mean, at
Makes
the same
sense.
time, let's talk about how, like, if we're talking about how much an operator is getting played, I don't think Buck is getting played more than Ash right now, and Ash only has
I
what,
think he is.
2?
No,
Buck
Buck
right
is
now,
absolutely
in
still getting
current
played.
meta, he is, yes. Because
that's-
no more
I'm not
frag
also-
grenades,
I'm-
Buck. No more frag grenades. Buck is now very meta on a lot of sites.
but it's
Also,
felt like even
Yeah.
when he wasn't super meta, he was still being played. Like people
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
still picking him for the longest time. I'm not even talking about like right now. I'm more talking
Mhm.
about just in the past. Up
it's
wanna
until
make a
because
statement,
like
yeah.
it's just because Buck is just a fun operator to play. Like you have a shotgun, you have a gon, you got flashes, you have
And I mean, arguably one of the best solo queue operators in the game.
yeah. I still argue that Yana is better like overall, but like Buck's still up there. But and then I feel like as well with Buck, the whole like talking about not being meta, like the vert meta as well. It just I don't know.
Well,
trailing
I
off here.
wasn't saying that Buck's not meta. I was just saying I feel like if you look at how much an operator has been picked over the lifespan of the game, I feel like Ash is way above Buck, and she has half as many esports sets as Buck does.
Ash also fell off a cliff for pick rate after Yana came out.
Fair.
Yeah. And
What
when
is going
and
on out
Sophia replaced her for a little bit as well.
Now
Ah.
Zofia is a dead op too.
God, I miss Sophia.
That's a take.
I mean,
she's
not dead, but dead in comparison to
Like
what she
she's
used to
she's
be.
not as dominant anymore, but that's just because like that's every op you make a 1-speed kind of
Yeah.
like look at Sledge now. Like we still took him because he was the only like real vert you had, but now that Ram is here, it's like better gun, faster at making vert. It's like why take Sledge over Ram?
And then there's me. I still play Sledge instead because TSM skin.
That's fair. Anyways, moving on before we get sidetracked too much. I can find a topic on my phone here. NAL weeks 2 and 3. I feel like that's like that's not like a week 3 here. 'Cause I feel like that's like the biggest shakeup we've seen to the NAL so far, because out of nowhere, Wildcard and Beast Coast decided to start shooting back. And it's like what? We're okay.
Yeah.
Beast Coast 7-1's DZ and Wildcard 7-1's SSG.
I heard they were talking about it in post game interview that for Beast Coast specifically, they hot and cold started doing a lot more of the shot calling, and it felt like I think that was part of their problem for me when I watched them in the first week was that it felt like the players hadn't bought into the system yet and that they weren't used to it. And what I saw in from them this past week was just that the players bought into the system. When a call was made, they just played off of it. I think the best example of that was probably round 2 they played against DZ. I watched that game pretty closely because I wasn't sure how DZ played that poorly, like on paper. So I like went back and I really wanted to like analyze that one. And round 2, they just got solar control. They had trophy, and then they realized no one could stop them from just planting kitchen. So they forced the players out of closet, so they didn't have that vert, and that's all they had to do. And then they said, all right, let's just go for a plant, and they did. Like half the round had been gone, and the diffuser was going down. And I think that's just a great example of something that wasn't happening for them before, which is just like the players make a call and then go with it as a full team. And I think I didn't watch them 100% super closely week 1, so maybe they weren't 100% struggling with that. But
They
I think
didn't
that's
play.
something.
They didn't play in week 1 because of the Mirage thing. Remember?
Okay, well, like I didn't watch them like over the first couple plays.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Over the first few plays. Yeah, sorry, my fault. But yeah, I didn't like watch them as closely. I did still watch them, but that's what it felt like the big difference was for me. That when they did something, they did it 100% as a team. That's something that a lot of teams I feel are struggling with at this point. DZ in particular were really struggling with that. You heard Mint talk about it in the tactical timeout. He talked to them during round 3.
Yeah.
But I think that was Beast Coast's biggest strength is that they're all very good individual players and they all bought into the system. They're all playing their roles really well. Diffuser was known for being a play entry and run at you kind of guy. They have him on ace and like gridlock, and it's working like really well because he bought into the system. He's playing his role, and they're all working together. They're playing around their shot calling, and I think that made a huge difference for them. And that's why we're starting to see them realize the potential that those 5 individuals have on a team together.
Yeah, I just pulled up the standings here. Wildcard is currently in 3rd, and Beast Coast is currently in 5th. That's up from like the bottom 2 places of the league, or like the bottom 3, because Los is still there. And then another thing that's happened: Oxygen are now the first team in any NIL stage to go 5-0. So I remember me and Shifty were kind of talking this one week where it was kind of like taking Gomez and Diaz kind of feels like a gamble because that if it's another M80, that team is missing another year of majors. And then Diaz decided, all right, nah, I'm the best now. Fuck y'all. And it's great to see because I feel like a lot of people like Oxygen. It is just kind of because for a lot of older people, it's just, hey, this is rec now.
Yeah.
And that, but
Newers is still at the top of the league with.
Hey.
I bought this like a month or 2 before the org went under. A good investment. And then the org went under, and then I cried. I don't know if I cried, but I was really sad. I loved that team. Lax and Skies are 2 of my favorite players ever. I hope to work in that with Lax and
yeah.
But
I almost got to work BP and then the breaking point, and then I didn't. But
lol.
Hopefully soon. Hopefully someday.
Even individually, a lot of Oxygen's players are doing well. Dream's got 8 plants, which is the most than anyone else right now. And Newers is still sitting at a 1.39 rating. And then Gomez is +5 on entry, which is better than anyone else. Like they're all performing super well.
Like forcing Newers to go off the 1.5 with Deadly Omen made him scarier low key.
Yeah.
And then, like, the big kind of topic here is Space Station. They got rocked this week after looking like the most dominant team in the NIL, or at least one of them.
So sad.
It's just like...
I mean, the wild card game was a coaching outplay. Did you guys see Meepy's tweet after the game? Or
I did not.
No.
What did he say?
Yeah, so basically, he knew that SSG were going to counter-strat their Oregon, so they counter-stratted their own Oregon and then counter-stratted the counter-strats they came up with.
That's crazy.
That was pretty. That was a huge read from Meepy, and you could tell because it was like it felt like Wildcard were very far ahead, and I think SSG was a good example of it. It felt like the calls were like off. I felt watching them attack, I never knew what their plan was, and if I did know what their plan was, it felt like they weren't. or if I thought I knew what the
think
plan
that's
was,
just
it
because
felt like they
like,
weren't like all doing it, and it
well,
felt
I
like
think
so
it's like you have
odd.
to like step into their shoes for a second. You come into this game, this team is just like kind of known for being shaky. They're good on defense, but on attack you can kind of just let them. You kind of just walk them, and then you get into the drones and you get on drones and you see, oh, everything is different than how we planned.
Yeah,
That's got
and
to
that's
shake the mental. That's got to
oh
shake the
yeah, for
mental in
sure.
that circumstance.
I think that's a big part of it, and that's like that's partially that's probably why they looked so off because they were expecting so much so heavily, and like Meepy knew that they were going to be expecting stuff heavily, so you throw them off, and then all of a sudden their initial calls don't make sense and they don't know how to adjust to it. So that's a problem that
And then by the
SSG is
time they
going to
are
have to
adjusting,
adapt to.
it's too late. It's already like 4 or 5 rounds up.
That's a problem they're going to have to adapt. They're going to have to work on because if you want to be the best team in North America and like compete at an international level, you can't get counter stratted that easily and look like an idiot when you end up getting counter stratted. That idiot's a harsh word. Like
Yeah,
you
no,
can't
we
be
got you,
made
man.
to look like a fool when the other team expects what's coming from. So they'll have to figure that out.
And then
'Cause other than that, they look good.
something else that we noticed a lot just watching the games is with Sonics, it always feels like when they're like if they do good, it's only one of those like the big heavy hitters popping off. It's either Ambi or Adam, and it's just kind of like can they figure out how to make them both kind of like oh I won't be at the same level now where it's like Adam has 17 kills, Ambi has 3 or vice versa. But it's one of those things I noticed. I'm just like that's kind of weird. What's going on here?
Ambi
I
is
saw that
just
screenshot. Yeah.
Ambi is
And be my goat.
your goat. That's crazy. That's wild that you just said that.
Ambi needs
I
to
love
figure it
Ambi.
out.
I love Ambi.
I think he's a good player. I just
He's
think
a
that
good player.
I just
but
think that the T1 adaptation caught him a little off guard.
yeah,
Yeah.
he needs to figure it out sooner rather than later, or we're
'Cause
not going to be
that
seeing Ambi at T1
I
anymore.
it's just the inconsistency right now. Because like I said, there's some games where he drops 17, there's some games where he drops 3. He's kind of gotten it better this week, but the question is now, can he carry that on, or is
I
it
think he'll
gonna?
be fine.
Hey, he's like me in ranked, either popping off or
I have
anchoring the
barely
team.
I have barely watched Sonics this season. I just haven't been watching them. They're not a team that I particularly cared about in the past, and I don't know. I just haven't gotten to see them. So this is a
Yeah.
fun conversation for me.
And then DZ is kind of just
like,
following.
Ambi washed.
Ambi
What?
I'll
washed.
start
Crazy.
spreading that narrative.
Let's go. All right.
Then another thing I kind of talk about DZ's kind of slotting with that DZ narrative of, oh, we made a roster change. We'll see you all at the next international event. We're gonna figure this shit out. Like I think half of that is because SI VODs are so publicly available because you're getting shit around so much. There's so many like different angles of everything. It's just like you're gonna get counter stratted to high hell, especially if you bring someone out of retirement and then make top 6. Like,
Yep.
but then
DZ have some of the most individually talented players in the league right now. If they can figure out how to get everything to mesh as well as we know they can, that team could be unstoppable.
I just think like the changes to Deadly Omen that were like really fundamental kind of caught some of them off guard. I heard some people calling Panda 1.5 made, which I don't know how true that is, but like you look at the stats, it's like, fuck, they might have a point.
Well, I think it may be because that change, at least maybe I'm just looking at this on the surface, but it would affect mechanically gifted players because it changes what they're looking at and how the game feels to them. Give them a few weeks and they'll adjust. I think it's just you give the people who had mechanical gifts time to adjust to the changes, and they'll probably be right back at it.
I think that maybe that debate's happening as well, though, is because the changes happened and some players just instantly got better. Like look at Newer, like a Shaiko, who like pretty much were only using 1x and like very rarely 1.5, and now it's just like, oh, they're going nuclear. Why can't the other star players do that?
Shaiko was made for this change. Everyone hounded on him for not playing the 1.5, and now he's out here laughing at everyone else because they don't know how to not play the 1.5.
Yep.
I don't think he used to play ACOG back in the day. Dude's just been a 1x for the entire time.
1x Warlord.
And he's been nasty with it.
And then moving against like the kind of like second to last topic we have here. I want to talk about Fenrir for a second. Because the changes that are coming to him next season, we've kind of talked about this before. He's going to lose the bulletproof on mines that aren't activated. And then he's going to lose one mine and one code. Do we think that's enough to kind of curb his high ban rate and pick rate? Or do we still think it's going to be a very sky high ban rate and pick rate?
I think he'll still be strong, but I don't think that he'll be doing what is happening right now, where like I bought the Fenrir set, but I haven't gotten to use it yet because every game I've played since I've bought it, he's been banned.
Yeah.
I think maybe when the Fenrir change goes live, I might actually get to play that skin. Who knows?
I don't think. I think he's still gonna get banned because he still has the annoying effect, and I think that's part of the thing that I think Ubisoft needs to adjust balancing for a little bit more is like making it fun rather than like you can have some overpowered operators, but like if they're not fun to play against, they're gonna get banned all the time. Dokubi's annoying to play against, and she's banned a lot. Fenrir, the blind effect is annoying. I love playing Fenrir, not because it annoys people, but because I love the kind of information he provides. You're able to swing off of that. I think that in and of itself is broken.
There's also that like really fun little like meta game with Fenrir of like the code management.
Yes, exactly. I love that kind of stuff because I'm very vocal when I play. I'm very much like a kind of a shot caller. I love relaying info and stuff. So it's the perfect kind of operator for me. But I think that the changes they're making are good. I think the change they would make that would make him in line with other operators in terms of ban rate would be you have to remove the nearsighted effect. I feel like it has no place in a game like Siege. I think it's just frustrating. It's just an annoying thing to add to a game, and he would still be a strong operator without it. I know that's like his whole thing is the nearsighted effect, and without it, he just kind of has like unique prox mines or just other Legion traps if you want to think about it. But I still think he has a place in the game, but I don't think nearsightedness as an effect has a place in it. It is just frustrating to deal with, and it doesn't add anything. It just takes away from some of the fun.
Something I kind of heard about that would have been like take away the nearsightedness, but like still muffle the audio, and that could be a good change.
That's fair. I feel like you could do that.
Make
I feel
it
like the
more
vision
like a regular concuss, where you can still see. You're not fully blind at distance, but you're blurred a little, like a Zofia stun. You can still see, but you're at a heavy disadvantage.
Mine was just to take it away the moment you step out of the proximity. I think the nearsightedness is fine. I just don't like the lingering effects that you get for like the second 0.7 seconds that you have once leaving.
That's fair. I think either way, I think we all understand that like the reason he's banned so much is because of the nearsightedness. Like that's the annoying part of Fenrir.
Like
I don't like that. I hate that part of his kit. As someone who loves playing Fenrir, I want that part of his kit to go away because I want to be able to play Fenrir without like him getting banned a lot, so I can play off of the info that he gets. I don't want to like try and piss off the other team. Like I don't feel like that.
It's like it's kind of like just like that thing where like a lot of operators in ranked get banned because they are annoying, like Capcan, like also Capcan, like annoying.
I feel like in a way
that's just kind of fallen off, but he used to get banned like every damn game. Oh my lord.
I feel like in a way they could make Fenrir's gadget more similar to a gadget like Legion's, where your primary use of the gadget isn't to blind people, it's to get a sound cue, it's to get that little bit of extra information of where and when they're pushing.
Yeah.
You don't use an Ella mine to stun someone, you use it to have a sound cue of when you need to focus that direction.
Same with.
I feel like they could do something to make that similar to that.
I just feel like they already have enough operators where it's like audio cues. I feel like Fenrir providing a visual cue is something that they haven't had since Legion. You've disabled the ability to be able to see his mines anywhere. And I think a passive visual cue is something that's not in the game and is really good. That's something that specifically for me. I don't have great audio, like my hearing isn't amazing. But I do really well with like visual cues and stuff. So even on a level of like accessibility for some players, it's better for like to have some kind of visual cue in the game. So I think Fenrir is great. And I'm really worried that what they're going to do is they're going to take away that visual cue, like to an extent, or they'll try and change that the same way they do with other operators, rather than changing how infuriating it is. Like with Legion, I hate the way they changed Legion. They turned him from like a fun operator to use to get like good visual info and do a little bit of like annoying damage if you can't take the mine out, to he doesn't give you that much information. It just gives you like a vague audio cue, but it's really annoying to deal with. Now both of us are less happy. Me as the Legion player is less happy because I have less info, and you as the attacker are less happy because you're slowed and you take more damage and stuff like that. So, like, I feel like they made him overall a worse operator, even though he may not be, like, less effective. I
Yeah.
don't like the way they adjusted him to make it less fun. I feel like I want to see them make some adjustments to make things more fun to play. But it feels like they've been kind of, like, they haven't been taking that into account as much.
I do think as well they need to like start buffing stuff a little bit more.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because it's like everything gets just nerfed, and it's like that doesn't make the game balance. It just makes it so now people are looking for the next meta thing.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's something that has been bugging me for a while. Is it feels like in other games they balance things by making stuff better to a certain degree, where it's still kind of broken, but it's not the only broken. Siege isn't balancing the way that other games are. Siege is balancing by making everything worse rather than making everything equal.
Yeah.
Let's take Grim for example. They buffed how his bees work. They gave him that balance option. They gave him the bailiff, and now he's an operator we're seeing a ton of, and people are really enjoying him.
I love Grim.
And compared to like
Grim
how
is
he
a
was
great
on launch,
I love Grimming. We
and
have
it's like
Grimmers in the
I
chat right
think
I love Grim.
now? Are we Grimming right now?
We're grimming right now.
it's like I think that the way they're going about nerfing the core issue with the current defenders are good. Where like you only roll out one big change a season to not one shift the entire meta, but also two that way you can kind of react and you can kind of like micromanage things a little bit.
Mhm.
It's like this season we got the zombie thing that's been good so far. Next season, Solus is losing the prep phase, thank fucking god, and Fenrir's getting changed. Next season, it's going to be a little bit more changed, and then they're going to change Dokkaebi. It's like they're doing it in phases to reduce
Yeah.
like the meta shift. I think they realized, hey, if we
Mhm.
change a lot of things at once, it's going to drastically shift the meta.
Yeah, I feel like that Solus change, having no Solus gadget in the prep phase, is going to be one of the bigger meta-defined things in recent times.
Gonna be so
Because, I mean,
good
if you look at comp right now, there's a lot of rounds being played in comp where the attacking team is almost going in completely dry, completely blind, because they physically could not get intel in the prep phase. If you can't prepare yourself in the prep phase, what is the point of that wasted 40 seconds?
Mhm.
Pre-placed drones as well to try and
Yeah.
expedite roam clears. That's a big part of it as well.
Yeah.
Big value of prep phase drones.
Like
and
me
all
and
that.
Exotics kind of like remember like every time there was a Solus on the board, every prep phase, the call was just all right. One person go and
Drone one
find
safe.
one person go and find site. Everyone else stay outside or like get a pre-play that I'm not going to see it.
Yeah. I remember we would always try to get a drone prepped as early as we can, and then just drone one safe. Everyone onto drone one.
Mhm.
Get that pre-placed drone so that you have it, and then get the fuck off of it before Solus
Yeah.
finds it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of weird, like a gimmicky play style. So it's good that they're like making changes to that for the comp side of things as well. But I do think with the recent influx of like like Jinxie and like the popular player base he's bringing into it, it is important to make the game fun. And I feel like they need to not like nerf weapons the way they nerf them. Yeah, you've seen everyone say like Grim's getting picked a lot, incoming commando nerf, and like as much as it is a joke, it is kind of getting predictable the way they like, oh, most popular entry, time to nerf their gun. And they don't like buff a lot of guns other than LMGs, but LMGs aren't really that fun, you know? So like I feel
Yep,
like
like
they
I've
need
been.
to yeah, I feel like that like you should look at it for like, how what can we do to make this game overall more fun to play? And yes, it is important to make it, actually challenging, and you can't just make it so that there's a gun that does all the damage with none of the recoil.
Yeah.
But continually nerfing recoil and
I feel like at
effectiveness of
this
different
rate,
guns doesn't make it fun.
if they keep just nerfing the recoil, we're gonna end up getting put into a tap fire meta because
Yeah.
every gun is gonna feel like year
DMR.
one buck
We
DMR.
already did DMRs are
Yeah.
very meta right now. Doke and Twitch.
Yeah.
I think that like actually, I did read a tweet from one of like the devs that said like the reason that they do a lot like more with like the sight and the recoil is because that's what's easiest to change in the moments. So they just kind of change that until they can implement a long-term fix. But they did say that like they got too comfortable doing it and they just didn't implement long-term fixes. So hopefully that mindset's changing. But also at the same time, they're also starting to design more fun operators to begin with.
Yeah.
Now, like look at Deimos and Brava, for example. They're like the two most fun operators on the attack, and they're still good, but they're not like meta defining. Like
Yeah.
Deimos, yeah, you get to run around with a fucking revolver, be a cowboy. Like, it's fun. And like they also like as well with the frag change, it's like that also helps make the game fun because like, I'm sorry, you cannot onboard dating from below. Like that is like that's just not possible, really.
But I mean, again though, like same as what I said earlier about what they're doing in terms of operator balancing. Don't balance the guns by making all of them horrendous to use. Balance them by making them equally good, not equally bad. If every gun shoots to the sky, it's not going to be enjoyable to get into a gunfight. I'm not saying that gunfights are the main part of the game. They're not. But don't make it so that every gun goes to the sky. Make it so that they all have moderate recoil, but they're controllable.
Yeah.
I feel like in terms of balancing, one of the biggest issues about Siege is that things get balanced opposite from how it feels like they should. It feels like they're trying to make the game just less enjoyable to play.
I feel like in the pursuit to like cut out some of the downtime, we kind of like lost what made Siege that. And like by like kind of make it like more accessible out, like getting people more options, we kind of lost some of the old Siege charm because like if you have more options, they're now just going to choose the easiest one with little compromise and just go with that. We saw it with the 1.5,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like it's so good that it quite literally, if you're not running it, you're considered to be trolling. But now like ACOG's back, it's like okay, now there's like a genuine disadvantage here.
Reminds me of when I was the designated 1.5 crutch of 1 HP crystal.
Yeah.
They said, all right, you're good with 1.5, only play 1.5 operators, we'll take
But I
others.
feel like that's why I feel like that's like I think they're also scared to repeat some of the metas we've had that haven't been fun, like 20-second meta or LMG meta.
LMG, yeah.
I hated 20-second meta.
Like 20-second meta is like it's kind of how everyone starts off playing, but when it gets to the point that everyone is now forced to play that way, the game gets bad.
Yeah, and it's not as enjoyable to watch because there's 2.5 minutes where it's just pretty much nothing. Like, yeah, you're clearing gadgets, you're clearing utility, but the rounds aren't enjoyable to watch until the last 20 seconds when action is actually happening.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that was when we started to see the beginning of the comp scene dying in terms of viewership. It's because there was just so much downtime. Yeah, there was so much downtime in terms of actual action to watch. As soon as the 20-second meta was gone, viewership started to go up again.
Yeah, and I do feel like now that we're kind of moving away from the TDM meta, it's gonna kind of start to fall back again. Because a lot of like what brings in the viewership is the flashy plays, like the fast mechanical stuff. So it's like I feel like it's gonna like fall back a little bit, but not a ton. At the same time, I also don't think that the TDM meta was ever really real. Because like I just felt like it was just something that people complained about
it was kind of just a scapegoat.
It was just a scapegoat for either I died because I just swung the angle wrong, or I died because that guy had the 1.5. Because nobody wanted to confront the fact that those are real issues.
I think it's also in part that like it felt like there were so many strong defenders that the only thing you could do was either hope for a gap or like just try and run at them. But I feel like people are also starting to realize now that there are a lot of strong attackers like Capitao, Grim, Buck. We're seeing a lot of new You can't just be someone who picks Ashe every round and run in. Everyone's running util, and everyone's running a lot more flashbangs, a lot more like
I mean,
stuff like that. And
operators
people
like
The
Buck or
way-
Iona, where
Yeah.
you can clear a shield completely on
The-
your own. Even if there's 3 Jaeger ADSs on it, with Iona or Buck, you can clear that completely on your own. Use the 3 flashes you have in your pocket, and then use your Gon 6. That shield is gone. You don't need help.
Flores. Ying
Yeah.
is broken right now.
It's like
People
I
are starting to
also
realize
think that for ranked at least, just complaining about people playing with kind of like brainless is dumb because it's ranked.
It's always gonna happen. It happens in every game.
It's like nobody really cares. Like there's nothing on the line except like a PNG for a lot of people. So it's like it's just dumb to try and like force people to play like smart or how you want them to. Like I enjoyed ranked more when it was just everyone running around. Like it got a little tiresome at times, but like it was fun because like you could just load in and just shoot things. And like that, I still think that's kind of fun now. It's just fun to just shoot your gun and not really think. I think that that's
One
like
of
the
the things
appeal
I
of
miss-
ranked.
One of the things that I miss about old ranked, back before it was just a PNG, just a participation trophy for how much you played. This might be a little bit controversial. The reason that I miss placements is because of the stress. Those first 10 games of your season were so stressful, and yet looking back, those were also the most fun 10 matches of the season.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I do think there is validity to the style of like Siege at rank 2.0 wants to do. I just don't think it worked on attack FPS.
Yeah.
Because like they kind of just copied the system from Apex, but like add their own spin on it. It didn't really work because they don't have like the entry fee or
Apex
anything like
ranked
that.
players hate Apex's ranked system.
Well, I mean, like they try to
Yeah.
copy like the core idea of like you start at the
Yeah,
bottom,
no,
work
I
your
know.
way up.
I'm just trying to say like it may not work in anything. Like Apex players hate Apex ranked.
I think
Like if
I
you
think
ask any
Apex
comp
players just
Apex
play
player,
Apex.
Yeah, if you ask any comp, I'm pretty big.
Also
fan.
real.
If you ask any comp Apex player, there was like half of a good ranked season, and then everything else has been ass. According to like the from what I've seen on like Twitter with like pro players complaining about it, I personally have a lot of fun just playing Apex at all. But I am disappointed because ranked is like an ape fest a lot.
Yeah.
But again, it's just gonna be like that. Same way with Siege, it's gonna be like that. Players
Siege,
are more prone to just running around and shooting people.
Siege ranked is just, in terms of your actual rank, it feels like a game like Clash of Clans, where it's literally just, your rank isn't actually how good you are, it's just how much you play. That's all it
They
is.
are trying to fix that now, which I do appreciate. Like the decreased gains start to kick in a lot sooner.
Mhm.
But at the same time, it's like some people are getting so far in champ, but even then, that doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
So it's like, what's the solution here? Like, do we need a new rank system? Like, there's been some talk of like a top 500 rank maybe, which I think would be cool to see.
You guys remember like a few years ago when there was a leak saying that Obsidian rank was going to be a thing?
Oh
and
my
that
god.
just never happened. That's what, year 5 that
Someone
people were talking
definitely
about
just
Obsidian
made
rank?
that up. Someone definitely just made that up.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
there's no way that actually was gonna.
I do think it'd be cool to see a rank above champion, just because like
Champion is supposed to be top 500.
yeah, but like
I mean,
well,
that's what it originally was.
no, it never was.
Well,
Even
it's
like
what it was
even if you go
originally
back
supposed
and look at the Ember Rise like design documents, even then it says that champion go up to, like the top 10,000 players in the world. I just think that like 2.0 they don't care. So I
Yeah.
think that like having champion be kind of like what Immortal is to Val, where it's like you hit that threshold and now it's a leaderboard, is cool. And then like you kind of have the top 500 to get a special rank, and if you finish inside the top 500, you get like a special charm or something.
Mhm.
I think that could be cool.
That'd be fun. That'd be fun.
As much as I hate Valorant, I
Real.
feel like they almost have a better ranked system than Siege does right now.
They do at least the fundamentals.
Yeah.
don't
I
play
mean,
it
it's
often.
still definitely too much of a grind. Like, you're not gonna hit a high rank unless you just don't touch grass.
I thought
At
you were
the
gonna
same
say
time,
it's
fuck
still
off.
Valorant. Like I still.
That's not-
have
I mean,
that's
it
not-
is.
Valorant.
It's
It's
still
still a
Valorant.
horrible
You have to
game.
It's
get
still
on
Still a
Valorant.
horrible game.
But like,
Like,
It's not just. They have the whole you have to play way too much to actually hit a high rank, but it's not like Siege where you can hit a high rank just by playing too much.
Yeah. That's very.
And no matter what, you're always gonna upset someone with a rank system.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that for like the casual player base, which is a lot bigger than the player base who takes the game as seriously as we do, rank 2.0 is a better solution. I just kind of wish we could try and find a balance that makes like a lot of the casuals happy and a lot of like the top players happy.
I feel like something that could be good, and I just thought of this on the like literally just thought about it maybe 10 seconds ago. So you guys can yell at me if you deem it valid. Ranked 2.0 in terms of climbing, but your climb doesn't always start at copper. I say have the first 10 placement matches. Bring back placement matches, but then after those 10 placements, it's like a ranked 2.0 style where it is climbing the ladder.
Nah, because I'm sorry. You say you can't make everybody happy with any rank system. This isn't a rank system. It's an XP system, dog. Like you said, it's for the casuals. It's not a rank system. You're not ranked on the leaderboard. You're not. You play more, and you're a high rank per se.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you're actually better than the person who's technically below you. Because chances are he could be facing people who are better. Like it's an XP system.
I honestly think
loot box ranks.
Easiest way, not the best way, but the easiest way for them to make a majority of players happy would be to bring back placements in some form, but not necessarily have it be fully like ranked 1.0 or fully like ranked 2.0. Have the placements, but then have it be a ladder like it is right now.
I think it genuinely should be the idea of you have placements and all that, and you can see your rank, but you can't see the exact MMR. You don't know if you're actually close to being demoted or promoted. Like I think that would be better. Of you go in and play, and you don't know if that's your promotion game or not, or you have promotion, or you have like a league series where it's promotion games.
I mean,
there's
always the.
But just something that ranks you. It's an actual rank system.
There's always the curse of being on your promotion game. Like, the number of times that I can think looking back where I was one game away from hitting the next rank, just end up losing 5 straight. Like, there's a curse. There's a curse there somewhere.
The trick is to stop caring.
We were one game away from getting my friend champ for the first time. And he was like, guys, we're locking in. And then, like, that was the sweatiest stack we've ever played with. It was my buddy Swan, another T3 caster. We got him
quite simply, the secret to this when your rank up is just not care.
Yeah.
It's like the second...
I just want to play fun games of Siege where I feel like my brain is being, like, challenged and I have to, like, aim. Like, I don't have fun if it's like, oh, they're spawn peeking and within 30 seconds the round is over, whether it's in favor of my team or not. I much prefer, like, because I just really enjoy, like, the strategic aspect of it. I like having to, like, think about it. I love IGLing my ranked stack. I don't have, like, a stack to play tournaments in. I just like IGLing the ranked stack. And it also helps me learn more for, like, implementing stuff into, like, color casting and all that. And that's my perspective on it, is I want to learn, I want to be challenged, I want to, like, have to think hard about things because, you know, I'm a caster. I could use those skills in other points in my life. And I think it's just generally more fun. I always had a more fun time. Like, everyone remembers those, like, really sweaty max OT games where you had to, like, really, really put, like, everything into it. And it wasn't like a, ugh, why is this game still going? But like a, oh my gosh, guys, like even if we lose this game, I still had a great time, and I feel like I was genuinely really challenged by the other team and had to outthink how they were going about things. And I think those are the greatest games of
the highest I've been in ranked is bronze 1 since ranked 2.0
Ladies and gentlemen,
came out.
this is the woman who is analyzing competitive gameplay on Rainbow.
So if I've been quiet, if I've been very quiet, that's why.
No, you're fine.
I don't play ranked at all.
Valid. It's just one of those things where I think it's like, I wish there was like a happy balance we could find, but that's probably never gonna happen.
See, I got completely burnt out of ranked like 2.0 at least. 2 seasons ago, and I think Jess will probably remember why. I'm about to tell you guys why, and you'll probably feel for me a little bit. 2 seasons ago, I was still gaining 20 RP, right? Still gaining 20, losing 20. I spent 57 games in Diamond 1 trying to rank up to champ. Gaining 20 the entire way through.
How much were you losing?
57 games. I was losing like 22, gaining 19.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
57 games in Diamond
I
1.
also there's like a thing that Yubi said that's like the system will try and keep your win rate as close to 50% as possible. I think that's bad.
Yeah.
I don't think we
I
should
also
artificially
don't like hidden MMR.
hidden MMR is kind of necessary evil for a system like this. I think that like it's bad, yes, but it's a necessary evil. But I don't like the idea of what the fucking lost my train of thought there. Fuck.
The 50% thing.
Yeah, that. Thank you. I just don't like that idea because I think that like half of like a lot of people are overcoming it, but like for the people who can't overcome it, it's frustrating because you have 3 good games and then the system's like up above 50%, kick it in. And it's just like, wow, okay, that's fun. I remember like Shifty will remember getting frustrated with this like a lot because it was just one of the things I hated a lot because I think that like limiting people like that is bad. I think putting artificial limits on a system like this is bad.
I don't know, man. I still think it's just not a system. It's just not a rank system.
Yeah.
You can say it's a necessary evil for the system. It's a necessary evil because the system is bad.
Yeah.
Like, if
That's a bar.
That's one of the reasons why I say that they should bring back placements. It's because if you bring back placements, it's gonna feel at least a little bit more like ranked again. If you can actually end up starting from inside of Plat, like starting your climb from inside of Plat instead of starting at Copper 5 every season, it's gonna feel more like ranked again.
it's also like it's not you hit gold or you hit plat. It's like, okay, cool. I played enough games to hit that. Like I didn't actually work for it.
Yeah.
And it's just like it's a pound on the shoulder. Here's your alpha pack, bro. Like that's what it is now.
I think it is like more so like haters to new players as well though, because like they get hit with those like with that like kick in way sooner. Like one of my friends, like who's like this is their first season playing ranked, just hit plat today and is super happy about it. But it's like, yeah, you hit plat, but like also it's like kind of like that was kind of a given at some point.
Yeah, it's also like next season that feeling's gonna be different. Like I remember feeling like when I was in gold, it'd be like gold 2, and then you get to gold 1, and that felt good. And then you'd be stuck in gold 1 for a little bit. Then you hit, plat, and you feel good. And then it's the climb up to plat 1. Like it's not. Oh, I've hit plat now. Let me hit diamond. Now let me go emerald. Like it's just.
I forget what rank I am, and back in the day, I could tell you the exact MMR to the to the ones digit. I was like,
I mean,
yeah, I'm a 2987 gold 2. I'm almost at gold 1. I'm thinking I'm gonna hit plat this season. I have a video of me reacting to the first time I got plat back when I had to earn it, and it was like, I was so happy.
For a lot of people,
nowadays I hit emerald last season. I don't really care. It's like everyone's supposed to get emerald. Like I don't.
Yep.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, there's pressure on me to play enough to be a high enough rank, so I feel like the things I'm saying are valid and I know what I'm talking about.
I mean, for a lot of people, the highlight of their seed, I don't want to call it career because it's not, but for lack of a better word, the highlight for a lot of people's seed's career is the first time that they hit plat. Yeah. Hitting plat for that first time ever in ranked 1.0 was the greatest feeling. You were on top of the world, just to end up dropping back down into gold. Because, I mean, let's be honest, it happened to all of us.
Yeah.
But the highlight for every player, I feel like, is the first time that they hit plat. Whereas now, like, I have a clip, I have it on my TikTok. What happened when I hit champ a couple seasons ago, it wasn't that same thing that you used to have where you're screaming out of joy. I hit champ, and then straight up, you can hear it in the clip, you can see it in the TikTok. I hit champ, and then I say, all right, time to go to bed. And I got off.
Yep.
Because it's just
Yeah.
how much you play.
I
Just a
do
progress
think it's
bar.
also like it's one of those things like people find enjoyment in different things. Like there are some people with like rank 2.0 where it's like, all right, I hit champ now. How deep into champ can I go while gaining like +6 -80? And for some people, that's fun. Like even in ranks, even in like rank 1.0, that was kind of like the little thing. It's like who could get the deepest into champ, and it was like kind of like after you get champ, the next goal was like 6,000, 7,000, 10,000, like stuff like that. Just like
You had to remember when you were able to look at like R6 tracker or tab stats and it would show you your casual rank.
yeah,
Like the number of people that I would hear about complaining like, oh, in ranked I'm only gold 2, but if you look at R6 tracker, it says that my casual rating is diamond 1.
That's
Like
wild.
it's
Casual
it's
merchant.
casual rank casual rank
You're a
only
cash
exists on
merchant.
R6 tracker.
all right. But then let's move into the final section. 50.
Nah, we're gonna save it. We've been going for a while. It's getting late.
All
Don't
right,
worry
heard.
about it. We'll save it. We'll
Well,
save it.
all right.
What is this running bit about W7M?
I made a bet that if they won invite, I have to represent W7M, but I'm also secretly betting against them, and I don't want them to make international events because I want to root for my NA teams. But if they make it to international events, I have to root for them.
Okay. Alright.
So
So
basically,
I'm watching every single game that W7M plays and keeping my eye on the Brazil League.
yeah. And then
A fate worse than death.
I remember because it was like the last year at SI, we all had a joke where if G2 won, we were all gonna buy jerseys. This year, I said I'm gonna get a tattoo. I was gonna do it, but then my girlfriend said, "No, the fuck you're not." It's like I'm not winning that. I'm not winning that one.
Okay, yes, queen.
In other words, I got fucked because she's not doing a bet. The other guy only has to buy a jersey, and my ass has to watch every single
I'm still
game.
buying
and root
it.
for
I'm-
them. If they international bet, I got
Dog,
fucked.
This is not fair.
Dog,
But I'm a man of my word, so I'm doing it.
I am gonna buy a jersey. I just have to figure out like how to get it to the US. I don't think they ship it to the US.
You should just save it till the end of the season and then have one big episode where Shifty goes over every W7M game.
Oh my god,
Oh my
the W7M
That's
special.
that's the
W7M
entire
special,
episode.
yeah.
Just
If you've
Shifty.
waited
You know
this
what?
long, they're already like 6 games into the league. You might as well
You're
just
right.
do
You're
that.
right. You're right. I'm just gonna do that. I'm just gonna do that.
That entire episode at the end of the year is just Shifty talking about W7M while the rest of us just look at our
look on in
monitors and
horror.
nod the entire
I'm
time.
gonna get a whole whiteboard and everything, and I'm gonna have diagrams and all that. Where listen, it's gonna be ready. It's gonna be a huge production. All right, that's what's gonna
We have
happen.
to subtitle the entire
I'm
thing
gonna
into
walk you through it.
Portuguese.
I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you the entire W7M playbook. I got you.
I'll be the
Alright.
Shifty translator. If things get a little bit too saucy, I'll put it in layman's non-angry man terms.
No, it's like it's a 2-part special. One part's the Brazil part, and the other part's the NA part. All right, but
Shifty, I don't know. Random note. In this lighting, you kind of look like Gunner. In this lighting,
That's
I don't
crazy.
know why. I've been thinking that. I don't know why. I just wanted to add that in.
I'll let you know. I am definitely not as good as Gunner.
Ouch.
He's a good
What the
video game
fuck, Thrill?
player.
What the fuck, Thrill?
Hey, he's good. I didn't expect you to be. But it's just the lighting. I don't know. Anyways, take it away, Jess.
All right, that's gonna be it from us. I'm Jess.
I'm Shifty.
I'm Exotics.
I'm
As you should.
happy.
Bye, Rose.
All right, thanks for watching, everyone. Bye.